Welcome back guys to another Cyberpunk video and to the absolute best Netrunner build that ever existed. I know that is actually hard to top, but this build is actually dealing 100% more damage than in the previous one. I will be adding 150% critical damage with infinite overclock and an additional 80% quick hack damage. This resulted in a maximum Q damage of up to 50,000 damage you can deal to a single target. This amount of damage would actually be over 500,000 damage if we were still playing at version 2.0. So if the game would not have been nerfed so much, even Atom Smasher would certainly piss his pants. This Netrunner build is so strong that it is the first time you don't even have to fear facing max stack alone with your quick hacks. In previous builds you had to use your katana or something else to just encounter these guys, but in this build you are so powerful and so strong that you need no other tools and no other weapon to get rid of them. And you don't even have to fear to get killed at all, because you will deal so much damage in a single Q or even with a single quick hack that the weaker max stacks are almost dying just from a single synapse burnout. All the footage as usual was tested and demonstrated on very hard difficulty. To achieve such an insane amount of damage for our Netrunner build, we will combine some of the old tricks from the Tetratronic Rippler and the embedded exploit damage boost and combine them with the new damage tricks from the Deep Field Visual Interface, which gives you up to 45% critical damage when you go for cool 20. And together with the Netrunner's perk we will get another 50% critical damage that will total in up to 150% critical damage whenever we are entering heavy combat. And we will also add an additional 80% quick hack damage. In order to do that, we will also use the Cyberware stats reroll, which I showed you in our previous builds. If you want to reroll any stat on any cyberware you want, you can simply go to any Ripperdog and buy some cheap cyberware such as the eyewears and then check the far right stats on your screen. These two stat sets can be applied to any other set as well. So if you don't like them, simply upgrade your cheap eyewear until you find the stats you are looking for. For example, quick hack damage and health upgrades. When you found these stats, then simply buy another more expensive cyberware such as the memory boost and then upgrade this cyberware instead of your eyewear. When you're upgrading this cyberware, then you can use the same stats which were available for the cheaper one. Just rinse and repeat this process until you have quick hack damage on each of your items. Another great trick to become literally invincible when you play as a Netrunner is the counter shell hack. Counter shell will give you 50% mitigation chance whenever you lose 35% health, which will always happen when you execute a quick hack. And when you combine it with additional mitigation chance and mitigation strength items, you will get a permanent 100% mitigation chance and 80% mitigation strength. And even further contributing to your mitigation chance is Heat Shield, because Heat Shield will give you another 50% mitigation chance whenever you cause an explosion, either with Edgerunner, with your Jinglong, or when playing with Shock and Awe. Of course, these explosions have to hit yourself, so it's not your explosions, but the explosions you cause with them that have to hit you to trigger this effect. And of course, as usual, we will use the improved healing, which no longer uses a blood pump, because the biomonitor is able to trigger normal max stock without having any animation on screen. So the normal max stock will just work as well as a blood pump and also save you capacity. So you can equip even more cyberware that gives you even more health, such as heal on kill. Of course, I've also been further improving the Qs. In the first slot, to achieve the maximum amount of damage, you should use Ping. Aside from memory boost, which doesn't seem to trigger the Rippler effect, Ping is the second most costly covered quick hack you can use. And using up as much RAM as possible is the only way to increase your damage when using Synapse Burnout. Synapse Burnout will give you up to 800% quick hack damage depending on how much RAM you use. And in order to also trigger the exploit damage, all you have to do is adding high expensive non-combat quick hacks such as memory wipe and suicide. With this combination I was able to achieve up to 50,000 damage. But how do you actually play with this build? Well, first of all, before you enter combat, you should make sure that you activate overclock and give your health a nice boost so that you start with the maximum possible RAM. During your hacking session you will no longer have to care about using any of your health items, that will be taken care of automatically. You only have to make sure that you use Synapse Burner to keep up your overclock. Then you can actually decide if you want to play more of a katana Blade Runner Netrunner style, where you hack your enemies and then slash them into pieces, or you maybe also prefer the shotgun Netrunner, which is hacking your enemies and then blowing off their heads, which is also a really fun playstyle which I enjoyed very much. Or you simply go all in on the absolute cyber psycho Netrunner that is hacking simply everyone and just melts every everything by using the Yinglong smart weapon, which has an insane great synergy effect together with quick hacking. Of course, you can also go stealthy if you want. But now let's finally check out the build, guys. By the way, if you want to support me creating more of these crazy builds and videos, then consider to become a Patreon or YouTube member or check out our Discord server. One of the absolute go-to weapons when you play as Netrunner is probably the Yinglong, which is simply the best smart weapon in the game. With its additional electric damage and the shock chance, it can also create a lot of explosions which can trigger and help you to keep up your heat shield. If you want to play with a blade or just as a backup, I would always recommend you to get the Byaku. The Byaku is simply the fastest hitting blade, especially at max level. Shotguns are of course also extremely strong, so I always put one in my list. The Sovereign is definitely one of the top-notch weapons in this regard. However, you can of course also simply go with a stealth pistol such as the Pride or the Raiju or any other weapon you prefer. If you want to create the absolute max damage build for your Netrunner, then there is no way around the Tetrasonic Rippler Mark V. The Tetrasonic Rippler not only has tons of additional RAM, but it also gives you an additional 40% quick hack damage when your combat quick hacks are followed by a non-combat quick hack. However, if you want to play stealthy, then you should also check out the Arasaka Cyber deck. In combination with uploading memory wipe to every target, you can stay out of combat literally forever, or you use the Raven Cyber deck if you want to play with Contagion. But no matter which cyber deck you should use the following quick hacks. Go for Ping for your covered quick hack. Cripple movement will greatly help you against the Mantis Blade max tech. Go for Suicide. Short Circuit works great against robots. Contagion, Memory Wipe, and Synapse Burner should be the last in your list, so you make sure that it is the first when you select a quick hack. In our ARM Cyberware, of course, don't forget to add a smart link to actually trigger the smart lock-on effect from your Yinglong. For a healing item, we will just use a standard max tox that can also be automatically triggered when you use Biomonitor, and you don't have to waste any capacity to use it. Of course, an EMP grenade will fit best for all the electric damage we deal. Don't forget to equip a helmet that delays your enemy's quick hack time and an eyewear that speeds up your own upload time. Your basic stats will be 95% critical damage and 80% quick hack damage. However, when you enter combat, you will bring that up to 145% critical damage, and your mitigation strength will be at 80% with 100% chance. The Cyberware will be the most different from our previous Netrunner builds. For this build, we'll be using up to 356 capacity, which is the legitimate maximum capacity if you collect every single shard once and you have 4 attributes over 9. So make sure that you don't miss a single shard, even the green one, so that you can max out this build. But no matter how much capacity you have, don't swap out any of those highlighted yellow Cyberware, because these are the ones which make the build work. If you need to save capacity, then save it on something else. Some people don't know that the axolotl is also prolonging your overclock effect. It will add 1 second per kill you make. But it is even more important to use the axolotl to reset the cooldown for Reflex Tuner and Second Heart, to trigger the infinite health refill from borrowed time whenever you make a kill at low health. The first item in the frontal cortex should be X-Disc, because it greatly speeds up your quick hack upload time and it also gives you additional 6 RAM. Of course, we will have quick hack damage on all our items, so you have to reroll your stats to get one with quick hack damage. The axolotl is one of the most important items in our build as mentioned. And then the COX-2 optimizer is absolutely mandatory. With 100% crit chance and 100% critical damage, it will simply double all your damage, and even more if you have 150%. For the cyber deck, definitely go for the Tetrasonic Rippler, or as mentioned, the Arasaka cyber deck or the Raven are also good alternatives. For the optics, definitely go for the Kiroshi Cockatrice optics, because you also want your Yinglong and your other weapons to be as strong as possible. If you want to use a monowire with this build, you can remove the kinetic frame and replace it with the titanium bones, so that you have enough capacity to add a monowire here. However, every time I used it, I felt so weak that I rather wanted to go back to katana or simply using the Yinglong. In the skeleton slot, you should go for bionic joints to increase your armor, then the spring joints to increase your mitigation strength, and the kinetic frame to increase your mitigation chance. In the nervous system, we will go for the Neofiber to further increase the mitigation, then the Reflex Tuner to slow down time whenever we are at low health, so that we have enough time to secure a kill and get a free health item charge from borrowed time. And then we go for the Deep Field Visual Interface, which is one of the major game changers for this build, because it gives you an additional 1% critical damage for every level on Cool. So with Cool 20, you will get a total of 45% critical damage, 25 from Cool alone, and another 20% from the Deep Field Visual Interface. Shock and Awe is also an absolutely crazy mandatory item. It gives you a ton of armor and also releases electroshocks occasionally whenever you get hit, which is dealing some insane damage to all enemies around you. The carapace is also absolute mandatory because when you're getting hit from the sides or from back, it will greatly increase the armor effectiveness and you will be a lot less squishy with this build. However, if you play more stealthy, you may not need it and just replace it with the optical camo. Countershell is another crazy item because whenever you lose 35% health, which will literally happen every time if you use quick hacks during overclock, it gives you 50% additional mitigation chance. And even if Countershell is on cooldown, you will still have the other 50% mitigation chance from heat shield, which will literally bring you up to 100% mitigation chance almost all the time you play this build. In our hand slot, of course, we have to use a smart link to enable the Yinglong's auto lock-on feature, and the second slot I also used for the ballistic coprocessor, not because I want to use ricochet damage, but just because I have an additional item where I can put either critical damage or quick hack damage. In the circulatory system, we will go for second heart as our ultimate backup, then we go for heal on kill to get additional health for every kill we make, and we use the biomonitor to automatically trigger our max stock healing item, which will still give us no animation and automatically heal us, similar to the blood pump, but we don't waste any capacity for using the blood pump. And of course, don't forget to add the tendons for your double jump. For the additional stat, you should definitely go for quick hack damage on all your items, and an additional health or health item recharge speed would be almost perfect. For the skills, you can go for Intelligence 20, Body 20, and Tech 20 and Cool 18 as usual. However, if you want to absolutely maximize your damage, you can also go for Cool 20 and only 18 on Body. That way you will get an additional 5% critical damage from Cool, but you lose the health item recharge speed finisher from the Body tree. The intelligence tree is fully locked and loaded. Of course, since we play a Netrunner build, you should definitely go for optimization, then the proximate propagation to reduce costs. Embedded exploit will greatly increase your damage if you first upload a covered quick hack such as ping, and of course the overclock perk is one of the most important perks here in this entire tree because it unlocks the health to RAM conversion so that you can use all of your health as additional RAM for applying more quick hacks. Spillover is also great to reduce RAM cost as your quick hacks spread to other enemies without any additional RAM cost. We will also go for the entire left tree to enable our quick hack queues and to grab up all the additional RAM and RAM cost reduction with Eye in the Sky, Hack Q, Q acceleration, and of course Q mastery, which will give you an additional 15% damage if you upload all 4 quick hacks to your enemies. The Blood Demon perk is actually not as strong anymore as it was before. It only gives you 25 health now instead of the previous 40 health for every quick hack that is still in an enemy's queue, but it is still very good to get. Data Recycler on the other hand is still a great perk that recovers 80% of RAM of all quick hacks that have not been used. Of course, we also want Car Hacker to blow up all the police cars, and we also fill up all the SMG tree. Especially recirculation will give you tons of additional RAM if you simply shoot at enemies which are already hacked. Then we get target lock transfer and of course the additional 25% damage for enemies affected by quick hacks. In the body tree, we will only get all the perks from the center tree. We will start with the ones from the bottom, which increases your health and health regeneration. Especially the Doorpad perk will give you 100% mitigation chance whenever you use the health item, which is just an additional way to increase your mitigation chance to be permanently at 100%. Then of course we will go for Adrenaline Rush and everything that improves Adrenaline. Adrenaline gives you an additional health boost that can also be used as additional RAM. So this is an absolute mandatory perk for Netrunners, and if you also get Pain to Gain, you get an additional 20% health item recharge speed. If you want to play with shotguns, you can remove all the points from the SMG tree, then go for Die 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 and Spontaneous Obliteration. And especially the Bloodlust perk will have a great synergy effect because it gives you additional adrenaline for every obliteration. However, if you rather want to go for a cool 20, you can also go for only body 15. In the tech tree, of course, as usual, we will go for all things cyber, license to chrome, and then the Edge Runners perk to maximize our capacity. Especially Edge Runner is extremely important since it gives you additional 50% critical damage, more health, and more damage overall. If you're filling out your arm slots with monowire or any other cyberware, you can also go for Cyborg for the additional 15% cooldown reduction. If you have the capacity, definitely go for Ambidextrous to get one more item with additional stats. Of course, go for Extended Warranty to increase all the durations of all your items. Chrome Constitution and Renaissance Punk are absolute mandatory. And then don't forget to get Driver Update and Shipware Connoisseur for rerolling your stats. The left tree is extremely important for your survivability. Go for Glutton for War, Health Freak and Pyromania. And in Pyromania you have the Heat Shield perk. Every time you get hit by an explosion like a car or something else you cause, you will get an additional 10% mitigation chance, which stacks up to 5 times. So by getting Heat Shield you will literally get a free 50% mitigation chance almost every time you play during heavy combat. Of course you should also grab Friendly Fire to get more resistance from these explosions, and then one of the most important perks in the entire game, the secret Godmog perk, Borrow Time. Because Borrow Time gives you a free health item charge whenever you make a kill at 25% health. And together with the Reflex Tuner, this is literally a Godmod perk, because the Reflex Tuner gives you so much time to secure your kill that you will never die by using this. Of course, we'll also get the other perks, which improves your health item effectiveness. There's not much going on in the cool tree, because we basically only spend all those points in cool to get the additional 45% critical damage. However, if you want to play a stealth Netrunner, you can go for Killer Instinct, Quick Getaway, and if you want to play with knives, go for Scorpion Sting and the Juggler perk. Ninjutsu and Vanishing Act are also extremely great perks for running stealthy. The Relic Tree is not really important, so if you don't have it, it doesn't really matter. You can of course improve your monowire or improve your cloaking abilities here. That's it for the build. I hope you really like this new best Netrunner build. Please don't forget to subscribe, leave me a like, and see you next time.